Yay. Happy Sunday. All right, so I'm going to grab my coffee and I'm going to grab my candle and I'm going to grab a chair and I'm going to grab my notes. Hold on, let's do this. We'll go here. And then we're just going to chat for a little bit. And welcome to Coffee with Love, which my name is Lovely, so Coffee with Lovely. My good friends call me Love, so you are welcome to call me Love. Coffee with Lovely. And so I'm going to grab my coffee, and then I just wrote down a few things, and we'll chitty-chat for a little bit, and then we'll have an incredible Sunday. So let me get my drink. So I'm excited because they're now bringing out the almost like the Christmas scented candles, and I have mine burning and I get so excited. I call candles morale boosts, and to me, if you are unable to like get your house vibing the way that you want it to vibe, because life is always being lived and happening and things are just a little bit crazy town sometimes, light a candle and light your favorite scent or scents and light them, and either have like something that's a strong scent or light it throughout the house, different candles, and you'll be amazed how that impacts your psyche. It's a morale boost. It just helps you to have energy. So let me grab my notes real quick. And what I wanted to share this morning is just very brief. But it was something that was very powerful and something that I am excited to think about more deeply. And it's around the idea of figuring out your purpose, figuring out your passion, and even being in a place where you sometimes don't know what your purpose and your passion is. And as I was listening to this message this morning, this speaker stated, she said, you can tell your passion by what you are willing to suffer for. So you can tell what you're passionate about by what you're willing to suffer for. And if you think about it, it makes great sense. So for example, she used the analogy of abs. She's like, you see, now I understand why I never got that 6-pack of abs that she always wanted, or that she felt like she deserved. And she said because she wasn't willing to suffer for it. And it's a funny analogy. It's a funny kind of like way of expressing it. But if you think about it, it's very true. Because there's oftentimes things that we want or we desire, but we're not willing to suffer for it. And suffering doesn't have to be like a negative, right? It just means that with anything that we are passionate about and want to pursue or want to experience or have, there will be a level of suffering involved. And the suffering just means that it's that growth and that movement in the direction, or in a direction, in pursuit of it. So if you think about a runner running a race, or anyone who's trying to do something beyond themselves, there's a level of suffering. You could think of if you're a parent, right? We will sacrifice, or let's just call it suffering and sacrifice. So as a parent, we will sacrifice and experience levels of suffering, and we're willing to do it because it's for something bigger beyond ourselves. The purpose is bigger beyond ourselves. And so when you want to figure out, as you're in 2021 and reimagining or imagining what you want 2022 to look like, and if you're having a hard time identifying your purpose and what you're passionate about, think about what are you willing to suffer for. Because any passion, any purpose, there will be a level of stretch, suffer, as you expand to greater. And the suffering doesn't mean woe is me or like a negative, right? Think of the suffering as this is part of the process. This is what stretches me to be able to give and expand more. Because if you think about, like, even in school, right? For those of us who may have pursued a degree, or in high school, or whatever we're trying to accomplish, getting an A, for example, or graduating. An example of suffering could be you stay up extra hours, late into the night, early into the morning to study, to accomplish the thing that is important to you. So you might sacrifice rest and suffer through exhaustion in order for like a bigger purpose, right? So what are you willing to suffer for? That will help you see what you're passionate about, and then you can assess if that passion is something that's productive and positive and life-giving, or is it something that's destructive? Because we can be passionate about the wrong things also, and we could be willing to suffer for the wrong things also. And I loved hearing that this morning, because it's helping me to think about and evaluate the things that I am passionate about and that I have been willing to suffer for. And it also shows me the things that I have not been willing to suffer for, and I need to tweak some areas. And so that's what I invite you to think about. That's what I invite us all to think about, is what is our passion? What do we feel like we are here to do in this season of life that we find ourselves in? Right now, I feel like, and this is not necessarily bad suffering, but it is a sacrifice to do this 31-day challenge, in a sense, because it is causing me to stretch and show up in a way that is, I'm not necessarily, it's not that I'm not comfortable with it, but it's just not part of my routine. I always would consider myself a morning person, good morning, but not like a social morning person. I like to do my mornings by myself and do my own thing. So this is causing me to step beyond what's comfortable in order to stretch in a direction that I'm passionate about. And I've learned and embraced that I'm very passionate about teaching. I love to teach, whether it's in art, whether it's in inspiration, whether it's the Bible, whether it's about personal development and leadership and vision boards and being a mom, all that stuff. I love to teach. I don't know how that will continue to unfold and manifest, But this is how I'm working that muscle of suffering, of stretching, of expansion. And so I invite you to take a look, and see what you discover that that you have a passion for. All right, so I'm gonna wrap here, and this is Lovely Tang, aka your Mama on a Mission. Maybe I'll do a video on how I came up with the Mama on a Mission, which I've been saying it for a gazillion years, at least a decade. Why I came up with that and what that means to me. But anyway, have an incredible Sunday. Be super excited, super grateful. Lean into the season of life that you're in. Make the most of the moments and have a blast. All right, you take care. I'll see you later. Peace. Bye-bye.